So Stefan and Evan are going to give a quick demo of some use cases we've been exploring. I'm involved in the web payments work that we see, and this kind of ties into that. This is very much e-commerce, online payments through the web. So this is like a retail payments use case, if you like. Then we've got demos from Ascribe and Scootchain, and I'll leave Zachy to give some background on that. So
cool.
Go for it.
Thank you. Okay, so what I'm going to show today is we are launching two little demo ledgers that we've set up. Right now, the currencies are nameless, but we'll come up with some good names for them.
And valueless.
Just to be told. Well, I think that'll become apparent once I show them the get more button. Okay, so we have these two UIs. One is called red.ilpdemo.org, the other is called blue.ilpdemo.org. And there's one third component which you can't see, which is connie.ilpdemo.org, and Connie is our connector. So she actually has accounts on both. We gave her a cool 99 million to play with, and she provides liquidity between the two ledgers, and takes I think, what is it, 2 basis points or something like that, so 0.2% of the spread. Okay, so with that, I will just show the login. I won't show the registration because it's pretty much the same as the login. And I'll just log in on both sides. And so now you can see I'm logged in, and I have some money here. I'm Bob. Whenever you're testing, always send to Bob. And then on the other side, we have Alice, who somehow has an endless supply of money. So she's very happy to send it to Bob. Okay. So you can see we have our balance here, and then we have sort of our payment history down here. Some previous test payments. Don't want to go into that. So let's look into into Alice's account in a little bit more detail. So we have the balance here, and if we ever run low, we have this very handy button, which PayPal, if you're watching, really good. Okay. Okay, so now let's say I want to send some money to another account on the same ledger, which just happens to be just my test account. It's very easy, as we said before, like sending money on the same ledger is always very easy. So I'm just going to choose the amount and kind of hit send, and now I've send the money here on the same ledger, 150 units. And the ledger is very excited, apparently. But that's kind of what we can do on one ledger. But of course, this wouldn't be an interledger demo if we couldn't send between ledgers. And that's one of the things that has stopped us from releasing this so far, was that feature was missing. So let's see if that works. And so the way that we do that right now is we kind of type this really long and awkward URI. So if anyone's been involved in the OpenID work or something like that, you might know about making people type in URIs. So hopefully we'll come up with something better. That's one of the things that we really need your input on. I know that there's been a really good thread on the mailing list about that. So we type in the recipient on the other ledger. Again, notice that this is blue.ilpdemo.org. We're on red.ilpdemo.org, so this will be an interledger payment. And now when I type in an amount here, you'll see that it took a second for the other amount to appear. And so this is basically showing off a feature of the pathfinding. So in that brief second, what it actually did is it queried red.ilpdemo.org and asked, like, what are all the ledgers that you know? And then it asked those, who are all the connectors that you know, and asked those connectors what are all the other ledgers that you know. And eventually it noticed that there was a path between red.ilpdemo.org and blue.ilpdemo.org. And this is probably not totally US proof. This is probably not totally secure yet. Well, secure in the sense of US attacks, I think. Otherwise, I think it's pretty okay. And we can enter like either amount. So if we want to do a pathfinder reverse, we want to make sure that Bob is getting exactly 120 units. Then it'll just calculate the sending amount and kind of put Connie's fee on top. Okay. So if I wanted to actually execute this, I would just hit send, and that did actually do an interledger payment. It told Connie, hey, we want to make the settlement between our ledger and this other ledger. And Connie's like, okay, that'll cost this much. And then we made a prepared payment to Connie. Connie saw that prepared payment. She executed the payment on Blue. And if we switch over to Blue, we can see that there's been some money coming in from Connie. Actually, if we refresh, we can see that there's been some money coming in from Connie, and that's very nice. Now, some things you might notice that are a little bit odd here is that it says I send money to Connie instead of money to Bob, and that's just the factor of some of the higher levels not being defined yet. So what we would want to do is, on the ILP level, we have fields called additional info, memo. These are fields where we can put additional information that some of the higher protocol layers are dealing with. And so we would want to put in there like, hey, I'm the sender Alice, and I'm trying to send you money. I'm trying to get this money to Bob, and here's what it's for, and here's a message, etc. And so we need to define some of those higher level fields, and then the ledgers can show where the money is ultimately coming from. You might ask, like, okay, if we know this whole path, couldn't we just kind of ask the connector where they got it, and then ask the next connector where they got it, and it just sort of powers out the path? But we're intentionally thinking that we shouldn't add those APIs. Again, it's up for discussion, but we think we shouldn't add those APIs for privacy reasons. So if you're browsing the web and you're making micropayments and things like that, you don't necessarily want to give everyone your identity, right? So again, there's going to be somewhat of a push-pull between the privacy requirements and the regulatory requirements, and that's sort of the balance that we'll have to strike. But those are all, again, subjects that we should talk about. I want to show up briefly what the actual transfer looks like. So here's the incoming side. This is Bob. Very happy to get some money here. And you can see, hopefully, I don't know if you can read that, but this is kind of the transaction details. So every transfer, so this describes the local transfer on the blue ledger. So you can see that there has been a debit that's been authorized. It affects Connie's account, and 120 units have been removed from Connie's account. Here's a credit. It affects Bob's account. 120 units have been added to Bob's account. And then here is information that this was part of a payment. So you can see here Connie was the one who handled that payment. So what we call a payment is basically these individual transfers that are happening correlated together. So multiple transfers make a payment, and then multiple payments can make a higher level payment, right? Okay. And then you have an ID, which is sort of the ID for this transfer. So if we wanted to, we could grab this. This actually, yeah, okay, this works. So we can grab this, and we can look at it a little bit nicer here. So it has an ID. It tells us which ledger this was on, what the state of the transfer is, that it was executed, and when it expires. Okay. So let's go over to the red ledger and kind of do the same thing. And then we notice that this is a little bit longer, and we'll find out in a second why. So I'll grab this ID again, because that was really nice to have it in a full screen view. Okay, so this is the other transfer. This is the transfer from Alice to Connie. Okay, so once again, the amount is a bit different because this time it has Connie's fee in it. And then it has the same additional info, but then there's this additional piece right here, the execution condition. And that's the part that I keep teasing we're going to talk about later. That's the conditions, condition spec. And this is actually an older version of the condition than what I'll present today. So this is a little bit more verbose than it needs to be. But this is basically the escrow portion. So this is basically saying, like, this transfer will only execute if there's a fulfillment for this condition. And yeah, that's about it for the basic demo. There's a lot of other stuff to it. I kind of showed this off 2 days ago at the working group, the Web Payments working group. This is integrated with our Web Payments polyfill. But I think those things are kind of a little bit out of scope, so I'm not going to go through those today. But please feel free to play around with this. It's on red.ilpdemo.org. You will have a very easy time breaking it, but please tell us about it when you do, and we will try our best to fix it.